Welcome to Ideas at Work and Beyond. Thank you very much for watching this show. I would like to say that this show is live every Thursday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. and you can actually see this show re-air again Friday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. And again, we are live from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Thursday and Fridays from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Tonight, we have Phil Burns. He is an immigration lawyer and also Stamford Board of Representatives. He also an advocate for the immigrants nationwide. Is that correct?
I do what little I try to do what I can.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thank you, Ivan.
Let me say welcome back. Okay, you're not a stranger to the show. You came before to give us some knowledge about the immigration system and also what our representatives are doing in Washington, D.C., also in Hartford. I would like to say thank you for coming. I know a lot of people are watching the show and they want to learn from you. Hopefully you will share some new insight of what's going on in Washington, D.C. Also, we heard that President Bush is trying to, I guess, initiate a new visa for the undocumented immigrants in the United States. You're going to tell us some more about that. You're also going to tell us about legislation in Hartford to permit tax-paying undocumented immigrant students to pursue their studies at universities in Connecticut. So we have a lot to talk about, and I know our viewers are also want to hear from you and how we can get this immigration issue resolved.
Off the dime.
Off the dime. Okay, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we delve into the issues?
Well, my name's Phil Burns. I'm an attorney in Stamford. When I was in high school, well, first of all, my mother is a first-generation immigrant. She came to the United States. My father met her in the military while he was in the military in Europe, and she came 6 months before I was born. And, you know, as a kid growing up, although she spoke English quite well, she has an accent, she was perceived as a foreigner and sometimes treated like a foreigner. And, you know, I think that made an impression on me as I was growing up. It's not like she suffered terrible discrimination, but, you know, some people thought she was stupid. Other people, you know, well, I don't know. In high school, someone came to speak at my high school about serving in the Peace Corps, and that really caught my imagination. And when I graduated from college, very soon thereafter, I joined the Peace Corps, and I was a volunteer in Ecuador. My degree was in biology from Cornell University, and they gave me training in aquaculture. How to, you know, do some simple engineering to find the best location to do fish ponds, to build, how to build them, how to do fish culture, and I taught farmers in northern Ecuador how to do that. Right about that time, in 1983, there was a diplomatic breakthrough in Haiti.
Right.
Papa Doc and JFK, of course, created the Peace Corps, hated each other's guts. And Haiti refused to have Peace Corps volunteers until early 1983 when there was a diplomatic breakthrough and they were starting the program there, and they asked me to transfer from Ecuador to be one of the very first volunteers in Haiti. So basically I learned very workable French, or very workable Spanish and Haitian Creole. I did not learn French because I was not in Port-au-Prince, the capital. I was out there in the boondocks working with, you know, guys without shoes who were trying to grow crops to feed their families.
Vous parlez très bien, vous parlez créole très bien.
Moi dégagez-moi.
Vous dégagez. Vous parlez plus bien que moi-même. So.
Now, what's funny, and it's a little bit, to my shame a little bit, I speak French, but my French is very so-so. You know, it's around the house food, you know, I'm hungry, and I want to sleep. And, you know, what you learn when you're a kid.
Right.
And then, you know, as many second-generation immigrants, or actually I wasn't second-generation immigrant, I was, you know, first generation from an immigrant. My parents tell me, well, when I was very young, they spoke French to me, and I spoke French more than I spoke English at home. My dad had learned it. He'd really made the effort to cross the cultural barrier, the linguistical barrier, and even to this day, spends a lot of time studying. But when I went to school, they tell me I came back from school, and I said, no one speaks this language, and I actually refused to speak French, which is also a very common thing that happens, and it's happening now to kids of Spanish-speaking immigrants, Haitian kids, etc. So now I actually speak Spanish and Haitian Creole better than my mother's mother tongue. So anyway.
Okay,
I forgot to mention, when I got back, I did some teaching. People had always suggested I go to law school, and when I went to law school, I wanted to do employment discrimination law because I'm interested in the injustices that happen in workplaces. But when I graduated, because I speak Haitian Creole, because I speak Spanish, I was in my basement just starting out in an unfinished room, and I was getting 30 calls a day, one about discrimination, one about something else, and 28 about immigration, because people are desperate to legalize, to straighten out their situation. And I was referring the cases out, referring them out. My kids were getting skinnier. We were dropping the temperature on the thermostat. And pretty soon I got the idea, let me do a little immigration, which was a huge mistake, because there's no such thing as a little immigration. Immigration is such a complex area of the law that you got to jump in with both feet, and it takes years to get moderately competent. And I decided on a very narrow part of immigration law. I don't do business immigration, bringing in corporate executives, doctors, nurses, things like that. I work, with the guy on the street, how to bring his wife, how to bring his kids, how to legalize his own situation, how to apply, advising him not to apply more frequently than not, because we have some messed up immigration laws, which I hope to talk about in today's program.
Okay. You stated that everything you think you know about immigrants and the U.S. immigration laws is completely wrong. You talk about the myth, the urban legends, the lies about the immigrants and the immigration system. Where would you like to start?
Well, it's a standard talk that I give. I have a number of different talks.
Okay.
How to get your green card, how you can get a work permit if you can get a work permit, how to bring families in, how the immigration system works and does not work, and what are ways that we can fix it. More humane ways, and then some of the proposals that are less humane. But one of the standard talks that I do in English, because I also do them other talks in Creole and in Spanish, is myths, lies, and urban legends about immigrants and immigration. My experience is that the immigrants themselves, for the most part, have no idea how the immigration system works. Okay. And when you turn to the wider American public, the level of ignorance is shocking. People think if you marry a citizen, you're going to get a green card. That's not the way it works. For at least half the immigrants in the United States, even if they marry a citizen, they have to leave the United States, which triggers this terrible 10-year bar punishment that Congress created in 1996 that says you can't come back for 10 years. Now, a very few of those people can then request a pardon to come back, but a lot of them don't get the pardon. So we have a messed up immigration system where for the vast majority of undocumented immigrants here today, to get a green card, you have to leave. If you leave, you can't get a green card. Which means 9 out of 10 people calling my office, I have to tell them, look, there's almost certainly nothing I can do for you. We can do a very close analysis to see if you fit into some of the very tiny exceptions. So we have a profoundly broken immigration system.
At least at least you tell them the truth.
Which regrettably, a lot of attorneys do not, and there's also a lot of non-attorneys, people who are unlawfully practicing law. For your viewers, they might want to know a really nice get-rich-quick scheme that many people do. A get-rich-quick scheme that many people do is they pay $70 to get their notary license, and then they go into a high immigrant section of town, and you put up a sign, 2 feet high that says notario, which is a Spanish word for notary. And what happens is in half of the Spanish-speaking countries in Latin America, it's not the attorney with lots of education and experience, with the notary who just, puts their seal and takes deposed statements. The notario is like a super lawyer They're like a combination district attorney and town clerk. And if you want to move property, if you want to move money, if you want to do claims, you don't mess around with lawyers. You go to notarios. So what people do is they get their little notary license, they go and they say notario, and then sometimes they'll even speak code language saying, I got connections in immigration, I know people at IRS, which in this country, you know, we have a little bit of corruption, but in those countries, in many of them, there's much more corruption, and that's code language for, I can get it done, the other guy can't get it done at all. So we have a very broken system, and most of what people think they know about immigration is completely wrong, completely wrong.
Okay, well, we have a call. Caller, you're in the air. Hello, caller. Caller, you're in the air. Okay, well, go ahead, continue.
Okay,
We'll
I have some facts, and they're not that I think would be very interesting for your viewers here. And all these facts come from the Pew Hispanic Center, from the U.S. Census Bureau, from the University of Illinois Center for Urban and Economic Development, the National Research Council study. There's some stuff here from reports by the Office of the President, the White House, Northeastern University, Economic Report of the President, there it goes. So without going into
go ahead.
Without going into what facts come from where, right now, approximately 1/3, or there's 35 million, almost 36 million people living in the United States who are immigrants, who are foreign-born. That, you know, if we have a population of what, about 300 million, that means that about 11% of the United States population, 1 out of every 9 people walking down the street, was born in a foreign country. Of that, 2/3 of them are legal. They have green cards, and probably the majority of them have citizenship. They've gone through the ugly duckling stage of having a green card. And then, having learned enough English, having learned about civics and government in the United States, having learned the 10 Amendments and what they mean, they can then, and learning how to read and write English, not just speak and understand, they can then take the test, and if they pass, and if they kept their nose very clean during those years and years and years of being a green card holder, they can then become a citizen. So 2/3 of them are legal with a green card or citizenship. 1/3 of them either came with passports and visas and their papers expired, or they came in over the border or by boats into Miami or whatever. 1/3 of the undocumented immigrants, that's the people who came with documents that expired or came without documents at all, 1/3 of them have been in the United States since before 1994. That means that 1/3 of them have been here for 13 years. Let's see now. The levels of undocumented immigration into the United States. Now I think we're not talking about people who come in with visas and passports, we're talking about people who come in over the border, by boat, etc., has gone down pretty much every year from 2004, 2005 to the present. It's been going down. There's still a big demand up here in our economy for people to take these jobs. But interception at the border has been very, very tight, and even though people are just as poor as ever back in their home countries, they want to come here, they're getting turned back, they're getting turned back, they're getting discouraged, they're leaving. And then people back home are getting the message it's really, really hard, very, very expensive, and they're not coming here. By the way, if I could just interject something. To pay a smuggler to bring you into the United States, they're called coyotes. Mm-hmm. To get a coyote to bring you into the United States, if you're starting from Mexico, I think the going rate is about $5,000. If you're starting from South America, the going rate is something like $8,000 or $10,000. And I've heard that to get smuggled first out of China and then into the United States cost $80,000. I'm thinking if we just put green cards up for bid, you know, make sure, you know, let people bid on green cards. You know, 1,000, 2,000, do I hear 3,000? And then, you know, when we have the bidders do all of these security checks, the FBI, the CIA, the National Security Administration, et cetera, and weed out all the ones we don't want, select the ones who have a high school degree or better, we could make money at this deal. We get the best people, and we make money at it.
Okay. Hold on for a second. We have a call. Caller, you're on the air. Hello, caller? We have a problem with the phone again. Caller, you're on the air. This is the wrong time for this.
All right.
We have calls coming in, but
While the technicians are working on it, let me guess what caller number 2 wanted to ask. I'm guessing caller number 2 wanted to ask, why on the...
Can you hear me? Ivan, how you doing, buddy?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Ivan, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I can hear you, believe it or not.
Why don't you turn off your
Attorney
TV?
Byrne, how you doing? Thanks for making the trip up from Stanford.
Thank you.
Okay, listen, is it your view, let's see, we talked about approximately 2 million immigrants come to the United States every year. Is it given...
I didn't actually say that, but I think that that there's approximately 2 million immigrants becoming legal, either coming in legally or a very small number who are already here becoming legal per year. That's correct.
From what I read, I was told 2 million legally are granted citizenship every year. That's incorrect according to your research? I'm just not sure. I'm hearing two different things.
Right. You know what? I don't know exactly what the numbers are. I believe you are definitely in the ballpark.
Right. Well, I'm going by what your friend Lou Dobbs says and Bill O'Reilly. I don't mean to sound sarcastic. It is your view that, you know, I hold compassion. I have many friends from Ecuador that I met here who are here illegally. And they tell me that there's a system of apartheid in Ecuador where they discriminated against being South American Indians. Most of the people that own land and money in Ecuador are the white Ecuadorians and the white Mexicans. I mean, this is unheard of in this country, and I would never know unless they told me. I'm of Caribbean descent myself, Hispanic descent. Is it your view that if, I understand most of the illegal aliens I know come here on a work or a tourist visa and they decide not to leave. Is it your view that they should still have the right to file for citizenship even though they again violated our immigration law purposely by not leaving after their tourist visa or work visa expired? And I'll let you go. Thanks.
Great.
Thank you, Frank.
Before you go, oh, Frank. Okay, great question, Frank. I'm looking forward to answering it. All right, first of all, historically, at least in the last 10, 15, 20 years, half of the undocumented immigrants each year were coming in with visas and then overstaying their permission to be here, and half of them were coming in with no visa, coming in over the border, boats, et cetera, et cetera. That has started to shift. I think it's been shifting in favor of the visas and against the border crossers, because crossing the border has become dangerous. They sealed off the border at all the major cities, so now people are going through the deserts. They're getting killed, from the heat and the dryness. There have been major reported abuses of border patrol people doing some horrible, horrible things, including, I believe, murder. I'm not saying it's widespread, but a few bad apples, make the whole system give it cast a shadow on the whole thing. I do not. All right. I believe in law and order. I don't. But I also believe that hard laws make bad laws. What I mean by that is, in 1919, the United States added an amendment to the Constitution making the manufacture and sale of alcohol, and I think it may have also included the drinking of alcohol, illegal. It became a crime to make and sell alcohol and to drink it, or I guess if you drink it, it's purported that you sold it or you bought it and therefore broke the law. This amendment lasted until 1934, and this was the period during which organized crime in the United States came into its own. Why? Because the law was widely flouted by large segments of the population. People saying, this is ridiculous, I want my beer, I want my wine, whiskey, vodka, whatever it is. And finally, in 1934, they repealed it. It was, of course, called Prohibition. And when they repealed it, I have no doubt that there were thousands, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people who had, A, broken the law, and a number of them had been caught and perhaps were in the system. I don't know exactly what happened to those people. What happens if you got caught with a beer on Monday, and on Tuesday they repeal the amendment? Do they still stick you in jail for a month, a year, or fine you $1,000, $10,000? I'm curious to know. I don't actually know what the answer to the question is. But certainly, all the people who had violated the law, who had not been caught when the amendment was repealed, but who later, it was learned, had broken the law, do you enforce a law that the country has rejected? Because they did violate it when it was against the law. I believe today we have a situation that's analogous. We have the equivalent of a prohibition on immigrants and immigrant labor. And this prohibition is similar to the prohibition of alcohol, widely flouted by large segments of the American population who are happy to have Jose cutting their lawn and Maria cleaning their house and Fernanda, and I'm choosing all these Spanish names because a large majority of the immigrants, I think something like 2/3 are Latino, but it could also be Pierre or Marie. It could also be Heinz and Ryan, because there's undocumented immigrants also from Germany and Ireland and all over the place. We Americans, large numbers of us, 98, 99% are happy to directly employ undocumented immigrants because it costs $1 or $2 cheaper, or are happy to eat in restaurants without questioning, hey, are your waiters legal, are your dishwashers legal? They're happy to eat in this restaurant instead of that one because it's $2 cheaper here. They're happier to stay in this hotel instead of that hotel because this one's $10 cheaper. So I believe there's a profound hypocrisy in the United States. We accept the labor, we accept the economic advantages, we enjoy the benefits of the labor and the economic benefits, but we refuse, so we accept the labor, but we don't accept that the immigrants are here. Now, to respond to the caller's question, do I believe that people who violate the law should be, forgiven and sent along their way? I do not. I believe that we need, A, good laws, B, those laws need to be enforced. And to be good laws, they have to be laws that people can follow. In other words, there's a way to get from here to there, and you don't have to break laws to do it. And the problem today is, as I mentioned, for the ones who are already here, even if they've been here 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, they have 1, 2, 3 U.S. citizen-born children in this country. Maybe they're married to a citizen or a green card holder who's going to eventually get their citizenship. In order to get their green card, they have to leave, and if they leave, they probably can't come back, so they can never legalize their situation. For immigrants who are not in the United States, who want to come here to cut the lawns, to clean your house, to take care of your kids, you trust them with your kids, to take care of your parents, you trust them with your elderly parents, there is, for all practical purposes, no way for them to come in legally. We have 5,000 agricultural visas a year for people who are going to do stoop work, picking lettuce and broccoli and the rest of it. We need 50,000 at a minimum. We have, I don't know, something like another 5,000 for people to work at ski resorts for seasonal work, on apple orchards, well, that's the agricultural, on the resorts on Cape Cod, where they come here for 6 months, 9 months, they work and then they leave. But it's a tiny number, it's not enough. There is no visa for someone to come and cut lawns, take care of your kids, take care of your elderly, clean your house, wash dishes at the restaurant, be a waiter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
You know, they said that in the Midwest, there's pretty much no work there. Why don't you just take those people from the Midwest and just send them to the East Coast and let them work, if that's the case?
There's no impediment for internal immigration. In fact, we had massive internal immigration right here in the United States when African Americans throughout the rural South, where they were persecuted, where they were treated badly, right, where they had Jim Crow laws affecting their every movement, where they had the KKK enforcing the social system down there. And then we had industrial jobs opening up in the north. There was massive migration. There's nothing stopping people from the Midwest to come here. But to answer the caller's question, people who break the law need to have consequences. The problem with immigration law today is, if you break it, there's a one-size-fits-all system. You get deported. Doesn't matter if you have kids, doesn't matter if you have a spouse, doesn't matter if you're the deacon of your church, doesn't matter if you've raised $100,000 for United Way. There's a one-size-fits-all system. You get deported. What I recommend is that people be required to pay fines, to pay surtaxes. Let's make them do 100, 200, 300 hours of community service. Let there be a punishment. But the punishment has got to be something in between. You're either illegally here or you are deported, especially if you have U.S. citizen kids. We want parents being deported and the kids are now on welfare.
Okay. Caller, you're in the air. Caller, you're in the air. Okay, what we're going to do is take a break, and hopefully we can get this phone fixed. I don't know what happened. For some reason, we cannot communicate with the callers. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, hopefully we will fix the phone problems, okay? All right, thank you. We'll be